everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing another coding tutorial. This time we're doing user input, which I think is one of the biggest concepts that people have an issue with understanding, that you can tell a computer a value and the computer will remember it and you can manipulate that value and do all kinds of things to it. Don't worry if you are struggling or if you're just starting out. This is a very basic concept. Everyone's been here, everyone's learned what user input is and how to use it. And yeah, so I'm going to be doing C++ and Python today. If you guys have any more suggestions on these basic coding tutorials and concepts that you want me to cover, comment down below or DM me on Instagram. But yeah, so let's just get started.
Okay everyone, so today's tutorial is going to be very short and simple. It is a concept that I get asked about all the time, and being a TA, I saw a lot of people who struggled with the concept of the user being able to tell the computer what to do and using that user input. So we're just going to start off with the C++ example first. So in C++, you use cout to print to the screen, like to the terminal screen, and you use cin to retrieve the data from the user. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in the terminal window here before I even explain any more code. Okay, so you can see once I have compiled and run my code, the computer asks me for my first number. And when I type in 2, it'll save that first number. And when I type in 3, it'll save that second number. And it'll tell me this output that 2 plus 3 equals 5. Okay, so now that you've seen the interaction between the computer and the user, I'm going to go back into the code and explain what part does what. Okay, so now that we're back in the code, you can see that at the top, I initialized these 3 variables. So here we have int first number, int second number, and int sum. These are going to be the variables that hold the user input. So next, we have cout, type your first number. And as you saw over here in the terminal screen, that is what's printed out right here, type your first number. And as you saw, when it asked me to type in my first number, the cursor is just waiting, and it'll keep waiting until you get this cin from over here in the code. And that's what's going to retrieve the data from the user. And as you can see, we do cin in the first number. So that data that we input is going to get saved into first number. So to address one of the biggest things are these angle brackets right here. You can see that with cout we do the less than symbol, and with cin we do the greater than symbol, and you have to do it twice. This is what's going to tell the computer that we are doing a cout statement or a cin statement. It's what differentiates between the two. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you use the incorrect angular brackets. So right here I'm doing cout and then the greater than symbol, and you can see here on the terminal side we are getting all these lovely errors. So as you can see, it's really important you're always making sure that you use the correct angular brackets, because no one wants a bunch of errors like this. And don't worry, you are probably going to mess up in the beginning when you're first getting a hang of user input. I think everybody messes up their angle brackets all the time, but it's a really quick fix. Okay, so moving on, this next part is just the same as before, but using a different variable. We have second number instead of first number. Then we use this sum variable that we have declared up here, and we just do first number plus second number. This should just be basic concepts to you, but I wanted to look at this cout statement right here because it is longer. So here I have zoomed out, and you can see that we have cout, our angle brackets, first number. So when you have a cout statement and you don't do quotation marks around it, you just do the variable name, that's going to give you the variable value. And then right here you can see I have the plus sign, which is in quotation marks, so that will be just that plus sign. And then you can do more angular brackets. That way you can include more variables. So we have first number, the plus sign, second number, equal sign, sum, and then right here at the end I have this ENDL, which stands for end line, which means it's going to print a new line after this entire statement. So if we go back to the terminal screen, you can see that this cout statement right here, even though it's really long right now, it only prints out 2 plus 2 equals 4. So to go back through that, we have first number, which is going to be the value that is stored in first number, which is 2. And then we have the plus sign, second number, equal sign, and then the sum variable. Next, I'm going to briefly walk through a bit of a harder C++ example. This is going to be something a bit more real life, like an actual program that you could be dealing with in school. I'm going to pull that up and we'll get started. Okay, so in this C++ example, we have user input that gets how many number of students there are and makes an array of student names and an array of student GPAs. Then we populate that and then we print it all out. Okay, so to start, we have the integer value number of students. We get that by using cin after our cout statement. Then we can use that value to define the size of a string array called name, as well as a float array called GPA. Then we have a for loop that populates the array, and we use a cout statement saying, what's a student's name? And it'll populate the name at I, and for that same student, we want to get their GPA. So it's a simple cout statement, ask them what their name is, ask them what their GPA is, and save that at both of the arrays. Then we come out here, and for style purposes, you can do cout, brackets, end line, and that'll just give you one clean space. And then I have this statement saying, here's the list of student names and GPAs. A really tricky thing is a lot of people would put this statement inside the for loop, but that'll print it every single time. So if you want to make a statement before a for loop, put it outside. So then, just for the number of students that there are, we can print their name, and then for style purposes, add a space right there, and then their GPA. So I'm going to run this right now. There's going to be 2 students. So as you can see in our terminal screen, I define that there are going to be 2 students. I enter the name, the GPA, another name, another GPA, and then I have the list of students and their GPAs, and it prints it out perfectly right there. So I ran through this pretty quick, but I just wanted to show you a bit more of an advanced way of how you can use user input once you've already got the concept down. Okay, so next we are going to move on to Python. Okay, so this Python example should be really fast because as you can see, there's only 4 lines of code. Okay, so to get started, we have our integer first number and integer second number. So in C++, we did cin and cout. Well, in Python, that's taken care of by one single function, which is called input. So what you're going to want to do is write input, and then inside of the parentheses, you're going to want to write the statement that you want printed to the screen. So right here I have enter first number, and for second number I have enter second number. So what this is going to do is this input is actually going to save whatever the user types in the terminal screen to that variable. Once you get the variable data from the user, you can use it to do mathematical operations just like we did in C++. So one thing to note here is that we do typecast with float. This is just to take care of any possible options that the user types in, and we have it being saved to the sum variable. And then all you have to do to write to the screen is say print, and the sum of the input is and the variable name. So let me go into terminal and I will show you what this looks like printed out. Okay, so here you can see it's asking for my first number, my second number, and then we have our final print statement, which lets us know that the sum is 4. Okay, so that is it for the Python tutorial. I just wanted to note that I covered input and C out and C in because that is the way that we learn at Oregon State, and that's the way that I was taught, and in my opinion that's the easiest way to get user input. But yeah.
Okay, so that is it for today's coding tutorial. I'm going to try and make a few more, so if you have any suggestions or if there's any concepts you would like me to cover, you can comment or DM me on Instagram. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.